I tell my students the story about how James Newton Howard, many years ago, again, this is the 1980s, sniffed out this temp score dilemma and realized that he was potentially being set up to fail by these temp scores because they would take these films out. Here, of course, we're talking about big studio movies. They would take these films out and preview them with test audiences and make decisions about the music based on the preview scores. So James, first guy I know to have done this, basically demanded that he temp the films himself. That if you're going to put temp music in there and make creative decisions based on how audiences respond to it, let it be my music. And he got very good at doing mock-ups so that the audience didn't know the difference. Now, have you ever succeeded with a director or producer in saying, don't tempt this film. Let's, let my composer essentially demo and build the identity of the music based around his work. If you like him well enough to hire him, then you ought to like him well enough to trust him with the temp. Have you been successful at that?
Yeah, it's we don't even have to reach the level of temp, really, because how we work now, I mean, in Europe, I cannot just focus in one country or one territory. I have to work from all over the continent or all over the world, really, with people. So what I'm trying to do is talk with producers that I know they have a project coming up, and they might not even be in pre-production yet. So we have some initial creative talks to see what are they going to need. It is interesting for me to be involved early, only because still, if we're talking about the independent cinema, let's not talk about TV, because TV all over the world now, it's whatever you do, it will be most probably wall-to-wall music or just a lot of music that someone has to do closed in their studio without musicians or anything, just they have to produce content for that series. But when it comes to cinema, and especially European cinema, where 90% of the films produced are dramas, which means that 90% of that 90%, if they have music, they will have something between 10, 15 minutes to half an hour, not more. And they don't want a full orchestra necessarily. They want maybe, best case scenario, creatively speaking, a nice melody for the character or a nice theme, or just some pretty stuff that they work with the story and the emotional arc of the story, and that's it. So it's very easy for me, even when I read a synopsis, I don't even need to read the script to understand that, okay, this is a drama of that kind of film language. Usually when they give me a synopsis, they give me the director's statement too. And this is part of the creative package every producer in Europe creates when they are aiming to raise money from their own country or find a co-producer from another country. So it's very easy for me to ask for this material. And I read this material and I understand very quickly the film language. So, okay, this is a story that might need 20 minutes of music in the style of In the Mood for Love. Or this is a story that actually they might need 1 or 2 tracks being repeated for 10 times. So how I work is that I throw some ideas and they choose what it already feels through discussions they had already with the director and the producer, what it feels is the right approach. And then I suggest someone.